Hello lovely people, Meg McKinlay here, and I'm coming to you from my home study. I'm also coming to you from Book Week, and I've been asked by the excellent team at Scribblers if I would answer some questions for them, and yes, I said yes. So here we go with the first of their questions, which is, what does this year's Book Week theme, Curious Creatures, Wild Minds, mean to me? And I think the short answer is that it reminds me of what it was like to be a kid, when I think you're at your most curious and your mind is at its wildest, and then it's really super important that we try to hang on to that curiosity and wildness of mind, and that is something that is very useful to me in my creative life and something that I think about all the time. So be as curious and as creature-like. I'm not really sure what that aspect of it would mean for a person, but perhaps, you can try that at school. Your teachers will love it, I'm sure. The second question is, to name my favourite curious creature from a book that I've either written or read. Now, I'm sorry, but there was only one answer for me to this, and I've gone with the book that I've written, and it's this one right here. It is a picture book called Once Upon a Small Rhinoceros, written by me and illustrated by the amazing Layla Rudge. And the reason I've chosen this one is that it is about a curious creature. It is in fact about a small rhinoceros who just wants more than her muddy riverbank where she lives, and she says, don't you wish that she could see the world? And the other rhinos, the older ones, just aren't that into it and say, well, we have everything we need here, the mud and the grass and the trees. But the small rhinoceros, as you can see, she goes off on her adventure and sees all kinds of amazing things and returns home with her stories and some souvenirs and maybe some inspiration for someone else to go on an adventure. And I think that is something that can happen when you are curious, that you inspire others around you to look at the world in different and interesting ways. So that's my favourite. How will I be celebrating Book Week this October? Well, I'm having a different sort of Book Week this year, and that is for a bunch of reasons, but one of them is that I'm just behind on everything. I'm so far behind on the writing that I should be doing, that I've got a couple of school visits, but for the most part I'm going to have my head down writing, and just very occasionally I will lift my head up to say yay Book Week, and then I'll put it back down again to keep on writing and get this book finished, because I must do it. All right, the next question was, okay, it's a bit about me, and I was asked to come up with a single sentence to describe myself, and I have decided to go with absolutely all over the place. And I've chosen this sentence for a few different reasons. The first one is that it's a sentence that I think it represents me in a few different ways. It's a sentence that pays attention to language, to the sounds and the rhythms of itself. So absolutely all over the place. It's got a rhythm, it's got some alliteration in there, and those are things that I think about all the time when I'm writing, which I think is one reason I'm such a slow writer and behind on everything. But there you have it. The other reason is that in a way it really nicely describes my very distractible, associative, creative brain. Absolutely all over the place. It's really useful to be a distractible person because I come up with all kinds of curious and wild ideas. Of course, I have to then, focus, but that's another story. And I also like absolutely all over the place because I think it's sufficiently vague, It doesn't pin me down in a particular way, so it leaves room for interpretation for you guys to step in and to perhaps put your own meanings onto that, and that's something that I love as a writer as well. I don't like to fill in all the blanks. What do I love most about writing for children? I love that it connects me to my childhood self. I feel a very strong sense of closeness to myself from when I was about 8 to 12. Those ages are very, very sort of close to me, even though I'm many, many years on from them. So I love the way that it keeps me connected to that version of Meg, and I also remember how important books were to me, certain books in particular, certain stories at that age, and I think if I If I, in any small way, can write a sentence or a character or a story that any child reader will hold as close to their heart as I held some of those things at that age, that is a great privilege. And so that is probably the thing I love most about writing for children, is that possibility. And I think I'm down to the last question now. Yes, I am. And the last question is, 2020 has been a year of much change and uncertainty. And can I tell you a bit about what this year has held for my work? And the answer to that is that it has indeed been an odd year. It's been a tricky year. For me, not so much because of COVID, but for other reasons. But certainly I can say that it's been very difficult for me to focus and make the progress that I would have liked to have made on the novel that I'm working on, which is why I'm so far behind. But I have been able to, in the cracks of that longer project, been able to finish a couple of picture books. So I've got a picture book coming out the year after next, and that's illustrated by Karen Blair. That's called Ella and the Useless Day, and it's going to be glorious. I've got another picture book that's just been contracted. I'll keep that one a secret for now. Don't have an illustrator for that one yet. And I also have next year, coming out with the glorious Fremantle Press, I have a sequel to my little chapter book, Bella and the Wandering House. So Bella and the Voyaging House is going to be out, I think, in April next year, and that's been a lot of fun. So even though I haven't been able to get my distracted brain to focus on the longer work, I have been able to get a few smaller things done, and that has been quite satisfying. And I am, in fact, just recently I found myself returning in a much more productive and meaningful way to the novel. So that is brilliant news. I feel very good about that. And on that note, I should probably get back to it right now and leave you guys to Book Week, whatever form that takes for you. I hope you have a fantastic time and read, lots of interesting sentences and stories and characters, and maybe you'll even get to hear an author or two if you're super lucky. But anyway, I hope you have a fantastic time, and I will see you again.